Today I'm going to review Al-Qadim, Arabian Adventures by Jeff Grubb. Jeff Grubb has written some things that I really liked. He wrote the Spelljammer box set. He wrote Mad Monkey vs. Kung Fu. He wrote Wild Space. So I had great hopes for him for this. Yeah, but he had help from Andrea Hayday. Now this is a second edition game world. So Arabian Nights type game world. And so it opens with some descriptions of the Land of Fate. Now this is a branch of Toril where Forgotten Realms and Character are. And it's got a lot of desert, but it's also got a lot of sea. That this Arabian Adventures is not just desert, it's also sea adventures. So it talks a little about honor and blood feuds and family, purity, hospitality, and the races. You'd think there'd be some new races, but no, it's the same races that were available in any other vanilla game world. Nothing too interesting. Got some great art, though. There's this thing called Station, which is sort of like how high class you are. And so here's, I can get it to focus. Here's how you roll what your starting station is. You can improve it with time. So if you're like a beggar, it starts off at 1d3 and some of the higher ones roll like 1d10 plus, or 1d4 plus 10. You know, for example, a ruler of a city would be 2d4 plus 10. A ruler of a nation would be 1d6 plus 14. So, yeah, you can lose station, you can gain station. But the real heart of this game is character kits. And in some cases, there's a real sense of humor to these. But first we start with the warrior kits. The Askar is just a generic warrior kit. The Corsair is an Arabian pirate. But for some reason, Rangers cannot be Corsairs. So that would seem like the natural class to be a Corsair, but no, only fighters and paladins can be sea pirates. Makes no sense at all. Desert Rider, it's like a desert. That seems like a good fit for Ranger too. And there's some pictures of these different kits. There's a Corsair. Ferris or Holy Warrior. Mamluk is a slave warrior. And you get some bonus proficiencies depending on what your kit is. Some non-weapon proficiencies is Mercenary Barbarian. And Outland Warrior is just like a European. Somebody who's not a native to the Land of Fate. Now the Wizard kits are more interesting. Now the spell list for this is slightly different from the norm. There's some spells like Fireball that don't exist, and there's a bunch of new spells, and they have elements to them. So a sorcerer can specialize in 2 of the elements, but otherwise it's pretty much a normal magic user. An elemental mage is better at 1 of the elements than a sorcerer is. But the best class in this whole book is the Sha'ir, which is a unique kind of wizard, which I'll go into more detail where it explains what they can do. And a Ajami is just a regular European wizard. Now, the rogue kits is where the sense of humor of Jeff Grubb really shines. So first of all, there's the Saluk, or the Scoundrel. This is the closest we've got to a normal thief. Now, the the thief kits get bonuses or minuses to their thieves' abilities, except the Saluks don't. They get the normal thieves' chances to do everything. The Barber Thief is, a combination of healer and con man. They get bonus proficiencies in healing, herbalism, and if they're a bard, because bards are rogues in 2nd edition, they get modern language and reading and writing as bonus proficiencies. Now, their thieves' abilities for barbers, you can see they get a bonus for read languages and pick pockets and find and remove traps, but a penalty for move silently or climb walls. Okay, so all barbers begin play with 2d6 times 10 gold pieces. If any gold remains after they purchase their equipment, they're free to lend it to other characters, charging whatever interest the market will bear. Now, one thing about the Land of Fate is there are lots and lots of beggars in the city. So, if you are a beggar, people tend to ignore the beggars. So being a beggar thief makes you sort of invisible. People don't notice you. So that's one of the big powers of the beggar thief. And they get a bonus proficiency in begging. And let's get that to focus. Their thieves' abilities, they get a bonus in pickpockets, hide in shadows, no surprise there, but they have a penalty in open locks, find and remove traps, and read languages. The wealth options, every beggar thief starts out with 2d6 gold pieces. To increase this amount, those accompanied by other characters are free to finagle as much as possible out of them. The Holy Slayer is also known as the Assassin. So this is an assassin class. This, bards and thieves can be assassins here. And they get some bonus weapon proficiencies. I believe they're allowed to specialize like a fighter in a weapon. Their thieves' abilities, a bonus in move silently, hide shadows, and a penalty in pickpockets or read languages. Now the Matrude is a desert thief. Be like a member of the tribe who's the skill monkey. So they get bonuses in hide in shadows and climb walls, and a penalty in open locks and read languages. Each Matrude begins a game with 1d10 times 10 gold pieces. Any further monies must be borrowed or liberated from others. The Merchant Rogue, they have bonuses in haggling and reading and writing, and the Merchant Rogue is able to buy large amounts of things at a cheap price, and if he transports them somewhere else, he can sell them at a better price. And that's their main ability, they're merchants. So their thieves' abilities, they get a bonus in read languages and a penalty in move silently, hide shadows, and climb walls. And their wealth options. Merchant rogues begin with 3d6 times 10 gold pieces each. Any gold not spent initially may later be expended on ostentatious displays, invested in items of higher quality, or lent to the less fortunate at reasonable rates. A Rawoon is a kit for bards specifically. Most of these kits, both bards and thieves can be them, but this one is aimed at bards, so they get a bonus proficiency in singing, and a bonus in read languages, and penalty in pickpockets or climb walls. Now the priest kits they're mostly variations of cleric. Most of them. There's the cleric of the faith, pragmatic, the cleric of the faith, ethical, ethos. So, and if you look at the spheres that have access to It's all astral charm, combat, creation, divination, guardian, healing, necromantic, protection, summoning, and sun, with minor access to elemental. And that's pretty much true of most of these clerics. So they're pretty much like a regular cleric. They're not really like the specialty priests from the priest handbook for the most part. Cleric of the Faith Moralists. Yeah, and they're kind of written to simulate Islam without hopefully drawing the attacks of actual practitioners of that religion. The Hakima, wise woman, is a little bit different. They have a bunch of abilities that they can use. They're mostly social things like find secret doors, detect illusions, identify somebody's station. Their major access is all divination, healing, protection, and sun, with minor access to charm, creation, guardian, and weather. And they cannot turn undead. They get all these other powers instead. Now, the Kahin, or idol priest, is a desert version of druid, basically. So, let's find their major access is to all animal, divination, elemental, healing, plant, and weather, with minor access to creation, protection, and sun. So, you know, if you look through this, it's basically a druid that's been slightly altered to fit the desert thing. The mystic is another one that's different from the cleric. This is more of a specialty priest with access to all astral charm, combat, creation, divination, guardian, healing, necromantic, protection, summoning, and sun, minor access to elemental. So the spheres are pretty close to the cleric ones. And outland priest is just for somebody who's not an Arab, not from the land of fate. So there's some new proficiencies like awareness and begging and bureaucracy, debate, display weapon prowess, like that guy Indiana Jones shot, genie lore, grooming, haggling, metalworking, riding horse specialization, and riding camel specialization. You know, before second edition, people didn't fall off their horses so much. There's a pretty cool picture. All right. So it goes into one of the things about this is if you try to wear heavy armor, you get a penalty. The heavier the armor is, the bigger increase it is. So as a result, if you look at it, you're not allowed to have an armor class better than 7 is what it is. That if your armor class is 7 or better, you get a penalty, and the higher your armor goes, the worse the penalty gets. So dehydration's got rules for that. And calling upon fate, you can like call upon fate, say, you know, God's save me from this unsavable thing. So at the bazaar, this is the equipment list. So for the equipment, there are 3 prices listed. The A is the asking price, how much they ask for it. B is the bargain price. So, and you have to haggle. If you have the haggling thing, you can get a cheaper price, or if you're a merchant thief, you can get a cheaper price. But haggling will get you down to the normal price. Let's see. Yeah, so merchant rogues and people with the haggling proficiency can get the bargain price. Everybody else can haggle it down to the normal price. So most of this stuff is very similar to what's already in the book, but it's not in the second edition book. But it's nice to have it delineated here. There are a few new weapons, nothing really overpowered or anything. They're just for flavor. And there's some description of the different equipment. Now let's go into the Sha'ir. Now the Sha'ir is a new kind of class. This new kind of wizard. They have different abilities at different levels. At first level, they can summon a djinn, which is like a miniature genie. And this djinn can go off to the elemental planes and come back and bring the Sha'ir a spell. Now, the chance of the djinn finding the spell is 50% plus 5 for each level of the spell, minus 10 for each level, plus 5 for each level of the Sha'ir, minus 10 for each level of the spell. If the spell is general knowledge, which is first or second level spells from this book, you get a plus 10%. And if the spell is priestly magic or does not appear in this book, it's minus 30%. And for each failed attempt, you get a minus 10% chance. Now, the time it takes to get the spell is 1d6 plus 1 per level of the spell. If a wizard of the same level could cast it, this time's measured in rounds. If it's a spell that only a higher level wizard could cast, the time is measured in turns. And if it's a priest spell or not native to the Land of Fate, this time is measured in hours. And the gods don't like it when the Sha'irs go after priest spells, so they impose penalties, maybe, on you for doing priest spells. So you only want to do that in extreme. So here's a Sha'ir with his little djinn in the form of a dragon. So you get other powers. You can, at third level, you can recognize genie work. At fifth level, you can call upon the Jan, which is a minor genie about equal in power to a fifth level Jan. And you just have the power to call them. You can't make them do stuff, but once you've got them there, you can negotiate for more. At seventh level, you get some bonuses against some of the elements. At ninth level, you can call a genie. And then once you get it there, then you have to negotiate to get it to do stuff like if you pay it 1,000 gold pieces in gems, that could raise the amount. If you give them a magic item, that could raise it. If you have a high charisma, if you promise future gold, if you have a credible threat to threaten the genie with, that could get you more. So here's a nice picture of a Sha'ir with their gem. Okay. Now, at 11th level, you have the power to bind a genie into servitude. So you can already call a genie at 9th level. At 11th level, you can bind them into servitude. And so you negotiate what the terms of the servitude are. And the genie will ask for things like the Sha'ir can release the genie at any time, but if a certain agreed upon conditions violated, the genie's free. The genie will not be trapped in a genie prison. The genie will not be allowed to flee in combat if it's lost more than half its hit points. The genie will be provided with a large amount of its natural element in a permanent base of operation. The genie will receive a share of all treasure gained from this year, ranging from 50 to 70%. The genie will maintain the style to which it is accustomed, which is the style of the Sha'ir and nothing less. All general living costs will be doubled for the Sha'ir. The genie will be free from all tasks for 1 day in every 10. Even genies deserve time off for good behavior or not. The genie will not ask for wishes, or the Sha'ir will not ask for wishes. The genie will be freed upon servitude upon the death of the Sha'ir. Before returning to its elemental plane, the genie will deliver the Sha'ir's body to a particular location as requested. The Sha'ir will bark like a dog whenever someone mentions the name of a particular god or ruler. So those are some of the conditions the genie might ask for. At 13th level, you can create a genie prison. This is a way to punish genies who've been causing trouble. You can put them in the prison, and you can make the prison, this is like Aladdin's lamp. If you release the genie from the prison, you can ask for wishes. And so at 15th level, you can travel the elemental planes. And at 17th level, you can ask for an audience with the leaders of the genies. So then we get into the wizard spells. They have, some of the spells have elements, but the elements are sand, sea, wind, and flame. So there's some new spells here. Most of the low-level ones are not that interesting, but they're kind of useful, like Cool Strength, helps protect you from the heat. Move Sand. Sand Jambia allows you to make a dagger out of sand. Sand Quiet allows you to move quietly on sand. Sea Sight allows you to look through the water. Water Bane allows you to protect an item from being wet. Wind Compass allows you to know which direction is north. Now, some of these are really useful for sea adventures because half the Land of Fate is sea and the other half is desert. Enlarged Desert Creature, Fire Arrows, Pillar of Sand. There's a Sand Sword spell that lets you make a sword out of sand. Reveal Invisible Spell Mirage. It's only the high level ones that are really interesting. Ghost Rigging allows you to make some ghostly sails for your ship because the regular ones have been destroyed. Good artwork here. Wind Blade allows you to make a blade out of wind. Desert Fists allows you to make sand come up and hit your enemies. Ship Shock protects your ship from underwater attacks. There's Desert Fist in action. There's Water Blast. Wind Carpet allows you to temporarily make a magic carpet, a flying carpet. Command Water Spirits. Flameproof. Sand Shroud. Ship of Fools is a variation of Feeble Mind that affects the entire crew of a particular ship, where they forget how to run a ship. That's a pretty cool spell. There's a Sha'ir putting a genie into a genie prison. Life Proof. Here's a really cool spell. It's a high-level spell, but it makes you so that you can't die from loss of hit points, no matter how much you go. But when you drop below 0 hit points, then you start losing charisma. But it can all be healed back, and so a wizard could do this to you, and then hold you hostage, and not allow you to go back to normal life, to make you do a quest. Water Form allows you to make like a body made out of water. River Sand. Unleash Monolith allows you to create a super powerful earth, or elemental, basically. Life Water turns any liquid into a serum that heals wounds and cures blindness. Sand Form allows you to make a body out of sand that can go up to 100 miles away from you, and so you can cast spells out of the sand form and you can see out of it. It's a really cool spell. So here's the list of spells. Some of them have elements and some don't. I wish it would focus on these. But yeah, Fireball is missing, but Lightning Bolt is not. Magic Missile is still here. But I think Cone of Cold is missing too. Yeah. But, you know, it's got most of the common spells that you would ordinarily use. There's an index. A guide to what these pictures are pictures of. So that is Al-Qadim, Arabian Adventures.